Back here on the Bobcast, the 2019 edition, Fielder Dennis alongside Coach Becky Fletcher. And Coach, we're talking about volleyball right now, and this, for starters, the preseason. And how did that go this preseason?
We have a lot of new faces in the gym this preseason. Um, some great returners, but we have 16 freshmen and sophomores on the
Wow.
on the volleyball roster, which makes things really exciting and fun. A little crazy at times,
Hmm.
a big learning curve. But preseason was a blast, and it was is a little different this year, having only 5 or 6 days before classes started in the gym together. But it's been really neat to go on knowing that we've had 3 full weeks to prepare for our first match, and the girls have brought a lot of energy to the gym, and they've been working really hard, and it's it's been neat to see those things come to fruition in even just a couple of our scrimmages.
With so many new players, does it give you an opportunity to, you know, build or maybe mold the culture a little bit, maybe make some tweaks in that form, or definitely with the new ones, you can instill that culture into the new players. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. It's a completely new year. So,
Hmm.
any kind of changes that we've wanted to make, or any kind of new traditions that they've wanted to start or we've wanted to start, have kind of been implemented this year. And, the athletes have had a huge process in that. My coaching staff has had a huge process in that, to kind of shape and mold what we want the future of Division Two volleyball at Frostburg to be. With the start of what we call our MEC challenge, which is our summer challenge and our preseason challenge to our team, that is physical and mental and cultural as
Hmm.
well. And they've really tackled those things and had a lot of fun bonding and to bonding to battle a little bit too, heading into this new conference.
Who are some of the new faces that we've mentioned that have impressed in preseason?
So I think our we have two freshman setters on our team that are going to play huge roles for us this
Hmm.
year. They they come from Northern Virginia and Southern California in Jordan Patrick and Edwina Linez, and they bring a different view. Coming from Southern California, the game's just a little bit faster and a little
Hmm.
bit different out there. And so they've brought that speed and that knowledge to our gym, and really have assimilated to the speed of the Division Two game very quickly, and held their own and brought some great intensity and consistency to our gym.
What returning players, in your opinion, are ready to make the leap, if you will?
The leap, I think all four of our seniors are going to have some great roles in leadership on the court, off the court, in contributions on the court and off the court. They have a pretty good um, net of experience together.
Hmm.
So Corey Smothers and Katie Lowe leading our back row, who have played just about every match since they were freshmen. And Biamba Shatenge the same way, in our front row, leading our blocking and being that consistent middle hitter. She's just so very consistent in how she plays and how she shows up to practice, in how she sets a block and how she's available to our setters and how she can score offensively. So that consistency is so great for our newbies and our new freshmen to have around them. And then senior Bailey Godlove, who's a local kid from Fort Hill, played a role for us last year, but has just gotten so much stronger and so much more confident and so much more um, of a contributing factor on our team this year.
You mentioned the seniors.
Yeah,
No seniors lost a season ago,
no,
and so what does that do for those juniors who are stepping into that role? They've all basically been together for an entire season. They're returning. So what does that do for them in terms of leadership? They've been together for a long time now.
yeah, they have. They've been together for a while. They've also had this neat experience of leading last year and
Hmm.
leading this year, and things that they've grown. Just they've grown as leaders on and off the court. So they're more consistent. They're so much more laid back in things that don't really maybe rattle them as much as they have in the past. And it's neat to see them take our 16 underclassmen under their
Yeah.
wings and kind of lead them and say, this is how we do things here at Frostburg, and this is how we want to do things moving forward. And they've done a really great job of introducing those freshmen, especially to Frostburg, and introducing them to Frostburg volleyball.
You took the next question out of my mouth by answering it. It's got to be so great. It's got to be such a blessing to have so many players, so many young players be able to train with these players who've
Right.
played in so many games,
Hmm.
and they're showing them how to work out, how to train, how to practice, what the expectations are, and that's got to be such a blessing for a coaching staff to be like, hey, it takes a little off of your plate and not have to worry about them as much.
Yeah, it's always nice when you have leadership that you know and trust, and you know that they're going to make the right decisions and lead by doing the right things on the court. And they're just, again, so consistent in who they have been in the last 4 years that it's really easy for the underclassmen to follow that lead as well. When you step onto the court and you have an all conference middle hitter and you get to play with them, and that leads your front row and anchors your front row, she helps not only the people beside her, but the person that plays opposite of her as well.
Coach, you moving to D2, moving to the Mountain East.
Hmm.
Are you excited to be facing some of these D2 Mountain East opponents? And is there anyone in particular in the D2 realm or Mountain East that you're looking forward to?
I think if we weren't excited, there would be something wrong with us, right? So I think absolutely we're excited to join the Mountain East and some new competition and
Mm-hmm.
some new faces and some new travel. I don't think that there's one team in particular that we're super excited to see. I'm more excited to see what rivalries develop. I
Right.
mean, I think that the school itself is going to have some rivalries develop naturally. I think that always happens, but I think that even teams within sports will have their own rivalries, and I'm excited to see how those develop and why those develop, and the bus rides and our new travel within the MEC.
Mm-hmm. Coach, looking at Mountain East, Wheeling is a former national champion.
Yeah.
And what can you learn from playing a team that's won a national championship, just facing them, and it's especially in conference playing them twice?
Yeah, so we face off against Wheeling Jesuit twice, once over
Mm-hmm.
homecoming weekend. Um, what can we learn? Well, to be the best team in the country or to be a great team, you got to beat great teams and you got to
Mm-hmm.
play great teams. And there's no better matchup than a team like Wheeling Jesuit. They're probably one of the best teams in the Mid Atlantic region, consistently and historically. And their coach has done a great job with that program and how she's recruited. And for me, it's a great reference point as to what I need to recruit to be at that level and what my athletes need to be doing in the off season to be at that level. And I'm excited for the challenge, and I think my team's excited for the challenge, and they all want to play really great volleyball teams. And there's nothing better than having one of the top in the country right in your conference.
Talking about opponents, and this question just dawned on me. What did the CAC, playing in the CAC, teach or show you to prepare you for the Mountain East Conference?
The CAC is tough.
Yeah.
It's a very tough Division III conference, and I think that the level of play there is consistently very high, and we were consistently playing nationally ranked opponents.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that having that experience, knowing we were going to play top 10 and top 15 programs within our conference play in the CAC, will help us look forward to going into to play Wheeling Jesuit. So I'm hoping, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan. But
Yes.
I'm not overly concerned that my players won't show up mentally and be ready for that challenge. It's just things we've been talking about all preseason to get ready to play teams like Wheeling Jesuit and more importantly the entire Mountain East.
Moving from opposing teams to your players, you bring back all conference caliber player Bianca Shatenge. How
Hmm.
can she, from her game standpoint, continue to grow?
How can she continue to grow? I think the thing Biamba's going to be challenged with a little bit this year is playing with some two freshman setters.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a little bit of time that it takes for their middles and setters to develop this chemistry and trust with each other. It's coming along fairly quickly, but it's got a little bit of ways to
Yeah, the
go. And
timing and
the
everything like
the
that. Yeah.
timing, the trust,
Right.
they're constantly beside each other, so
Yeah.
learning how one moves and what they're going to get to and what they're not going to get to, and since since they're all pretty even keeled, it's been pretty nice to see that relationship develop quickly. But I think that's going to take a little bit of time for her and for our setters to adjust to. Um, they've done a pretty great job so far, and I think it's just going to go up fast pretty quickly. I think the other thing Biamba does for our gym is she blocks so well and is just such a great force at that net. And we played this past weekend, and she wasn't necessarily taller than a lot of the teams she was playing against, but boy, she is just so smart and so
Hmm.
efficient and able to keep her eyes on the other side of the court and establish a block for us, which allows our defense to do some great things behind her.
Corey Smothers returns as well after a 600 dig season. She led
Hmm.
the CAC and finished fourth in Frostburg State single season history. How can she build off of a season like that?
Oh, well, we're going to see some great offensive players this year. A little bit, we've been talking about how the teams are going to be just a little bit bigger than us. We have
Hmm.
great ball control in our back row, and our first contact and service eve, and anchoring our defense is Corey, and Katie Lowe is doing a great job back there too. But I think Corey is going to be challenged a little bit more. I think she really enjoys playing against good hitters. I know she really enjoys playing against good hitters and making great digs and hustle plays to keep our team alive. And I'm excited to see how much energy she brings to the court and how much fun she is to watch play in the back row and kind of spark our defense and spark our energy on our team and keep them going.
Haley Ultimates played well last
Hmm.
year as a first year. And I'm going to kind of cross reference sports here. There's a saying in football when the quarterback in the second year maybe have a sophomore slump, a year not as good as their first one, if they had a really
Yeah,
successful year. Is that possible for a player like Haley Ultimus moving forward?
not even worried about it. I think Haley came back a little stronger. She's hitting really well. She's hitting on both pins really well. Last year she hit a lot on the outside. This year I think we'll see her a little bit more on the right side. She has some great chemistry with our setter over there. She's running some really fast offense over there, and I think she's going to surprise some people.
Coach, this week you start the season with a home match versus Lincoln out of Pennsylvania
Yep.
in the newly renovated auxiliary gym
Yeah.
with a new gray floor. What are you hoping to see in this matchup?
Well, I think we're excited. Downstairs is a different
That seems to have a
atmosphere,
different
a
vibe going
different
there.
vibe.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit more intimate. We're
Hmm.
hoping the fans are going to be a lot closer than they have been in the
Like on
past.
top of each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the intimacy of that gym is going to be really fun and
Hmm.
really loud and a really great place to have our first Division Two home match. I think that we have every possibility to come away successful on Friday, and if we play well and take care of the volleyball and hopefully see some great things from our hitters, then it should be a really fun match.
You kind of answered this a little bit, but I'd like to go a little more in depth. What needs to be done, in your opinion, in order to gain a home opening win? How important is that for morale, also?
I think that a home opening win would be absolutely the way to start a
Hmm.
Division Two opening win.
Yeah, be
It's
awesome.
not just a home opener. It's a Division Two opening win would be a really great thing starting our season off, starting Division Two off. The things that we need to do, I think we're going to need to serve and pass really aggressively and take care of that first contact and get that ball to our setter easily so that we can get all of our hitters involved. If we're able to spread our offense around and you see multiple hitters involved in the game, then I think we're having a pretty good night and that will be successful. I think if we struggle with first contact, it's going to be a lot more difficult for us.
Do you anticipate maybe some pregame nerves or some energy, some adrenaline rushing early in the first game, like you said, Division Two MEC?
I think yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
If
anticipate as well.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's okay. I always say that nerves are a good thing. It means you have something to gain and something to lose, and so it's okay to go out there and have a little bit of nerves because it means that we're doing something that could be beneficial to our future. And so they're going to come out. Maybe it'll be a little bit nervous, but I think that they'll shake them off pretty quickly, and we'll get out there and get comfortable playing in our own gym.
Coach Becky Fletcher, thank you for joining us on the Bobcast, and we're looking forward to talking to you all this fall semester. I know it's been a long time since
I
we've
know
chatted,
it's been a couple of months.
but we'll be back. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fielder.
Back here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. Fielder Dennis alongside talking to Coach Keith Burns, men's soccer coach. My first question to you is, how has the preseason gone thus far as we enter the regular season play?
It's been fun. I think the guys are into it. Attitudes have been good. Work ethic's been good. Um, Obviously, still always trying to mesh the team together at this time and learn our roles. But overall, I think it's been a productive preseason.
Headshot Day was a couple of weeks ago, and there are a lot of new faces that we were writing down for the website. How have those players adjusted here in the preseason?
I think they've adjusted fine. I mean, at this point, when these kids come in, they're ready to play based on their club experiences. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with the coaching staff and maybe our style of play or what the expectations are of them when they get here. But as far as their ability, they fit right in. It's just a matter of, again, just getting comfortable with the returning teammates and kind of just building that team chemistry.
Had a couple of players from Division Two. One from the MEC that I remember off the top of my head. Was that a point of emphasis for you in terms of recruiting, bringing those guys in who are kind of experienced at this level?
No, not really. I mean, that just happened. I mean, we didn't seek them out. They sought us out. And it never hurts to bring in someone with a little bit of experience, whether they're a junior transfer from a junior college or just a transfer in general. Usually they can add a little bit of leadership and just experience to the team when we are young. So, yeah, there was no set plan there. They he wasn't in actually. He's in the conference now because Davis and Elkins just changed, but
Mm.
technically he wasn't in the conference, so he
Right.
doesn't have that much inside scoop to give us on the opponents. But we'll take it for what it's worth.
You return key contributors such as co-rookie of the year, goalkeeper Joel Asal, and senior Blake Getz. How can their success and what they've built last year help grow the team this year?
I think it gives us a foundation, just like last year where we tried to stay in games and really rely on our defense and just hope we could do enough to get a goal to win a game. It's another foundation to build off with Jose as well returning, and Cam who played I think pretty much every game at right back. It gives me three in the back line plus our keeper. It gives the team confidence knowing that we've got those guys back there that are gonna do their job. And then we've got some new guys competing to add depth and maybe even make us better. So I think it's always going to be the way we want to build our team. Is if we don't get scored on, we're not going to lose. So that's kind of where we want to go.
Yeah, you running through the roster of the returners, Jose, Cameron Coates. Just an outsider's perspective, and you don't want to put labels on the team in the preseason, but it seems like the team's going to be pretty defensive heavy, or strong in the defensive end of the field. Is that fair to say, or is that, like you said, that's something you always want to build on, a strong defense?
I guess it's fair to say, and it is something we want to build on, but that just happens to be where the returners are this year. And we don't have a ton of returners in the offense, and that was an area where we needed to be better anyway. So, it kind of worked out that's where the focus was for the new guys coming in was more on the offensive side.
What about the Mountain East and Division Two excites you for your program?
Just the new challenge. I mean, obviously, we go into the games kind of blind. We don't know much about anybody other than what you hear about them. So I can't even compare how we look or how I think we'll do until we actually play these teams. We just know the level of competition will be good. It'll be maybe the style of play will be different. I don't know. I know a lot of them have the international players based on their rosters, so the style of play change a little bit. Again, until we face them, we won't really know. But we'll do our best to be prepared for it.
Coach, we spoke about the new faces earlier. Who is and one of the things that you mentioned is who's going to find those goal scoring opportunities. Who's really stood out to you here early, just in the preseason?
One of our transfers, Eunice Benmuna, we recruited him, seems like 4 or 5 years ago, and kind of had a different path he was following academically, and it just so worked out that he kind of got back into soccer a couple years ago at Rockville, and we got him to transfer in this year, and I think he's going to really give a boost to the offense. One of our forwards from Pennsylvania, Addison Caja, I think the two of them partnered up top could be pretty tough. He picked up an injury early on, but he should be recovering from that soon. There's a handful of other guys, Tamino Brown, a freshman who's just got a pretty good plethora of experience from some different leagues and things. And Louis, one of our freshman midfielders, just brings a kind of a little bit of work rate in games and just kind of he's got a little bit of a bite to him, which is kind of nice. Sometimes you need that out there. And then Randy, the returning player, is kind of the glue that's holding it all together up top because It's kind of the main guy coming back from the offense, surrounded by a bunch of new guys for the most part.
Coach, the team was picked to finish ninth in the preseason poll. How does this message resonate with the team, and are you a believer in bulletin board material?
No, I don't think anybody cares about it. I mean, I don't think anybody put much thought into that. They don't know anything about us. We don't know anything about them. Again, I voted based on exactly how they finished last year. I don't know anything about any of their players. So I haven't heard our guys even mention it. I don't even know if they know. And we'll go out there and prove it on the field that we think we should be in the hunt. Um,
Coach, any matchups you're really looking forward to in the MEC? You know, I know you play a couple of nationally ranked teams. Any rivalries you
yeah,
could foresee?
again, because there's no rivalries there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you kind of look forward to playing Charleston just for the fact that they were national champs in 2017, and you want to see how you stack up. I mean, they're going to be the favorite. They were picked to win the conference, and they've been the top team for the last however many years. So they're the one you want to see what you got. How far away are we? How close are we? And that'll give you a good barometer of where we need to go, maybe with our recruiting, and hopefully we're not too far away. But that'll be the game that kind of we circle as to, well, okay, what can we do against these guys?
You mentioned Randy Putnam being the glue up top. Who are you looking at for leadership this season?
Well, Randy is as a captain, Blake is a captain in the back. Our other captain, Derek. They're all very vocal this year, I think, because they had the experience. I mean, they were all returning captains, so they've got a pretty good beat on the team of when they need to be coddled, when they need to be yelled at, and I think all three of them set a just good example on and off the field. Their work rates are high. They're good kids. They're staying out of trouble. So it's guys that the younger guys can look up to at least, and hopefully learn to do things the right way.
Coach, this week you play Shepherd and Mountain East Conference foe Concord. What are your expectations here for the first two games, both on the road? So you're going to be road warriors this week.
I'd like to say we want to win. I mean, I don't know about expectations. Our goal is to win them both.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Shepherd, we've scrimmaged in the past. It had been a pretty competitive game, so don't know much about him recently as far as on the field. Concord, a little bit of pressure getting into the conference play right off the bat. But yeah, pretty long road trip. So I mean, we'd like to get 3 points on the road. But again, that'll be the first test of where we stand in this MEC and just how competitive it's going to be day in and day out, which is kind of what we expect. So, we got to be on top of our game because, one mistake could cost us, those 3 points. And that could be crucial when it comes down to conference play and just putting yourself behind already that early.
Coach, I meant to ask you this about leadership. You mentioned Blake Getz, and he's not necessarily replacing, but he's probably going to fill the role that Brett Basham played a season ago. And do you think their style of play is very similar, or how do you replace a player who is so solid like Brett Basham, though Blake Getz found the back of the net a couple of times last season as well?
I mean, they're similar as far as their center backs who help us offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were a pretty good tandem going forward with headers and flicking balls on, and part of the reason we manufactured some of those goals last year. Blake will continue to do that. Defensively, they're a little bit different in the way they play. Blake's a little bit more cerebral, more about positioning. Basham probably had a little bit more athleticism, and just played a little, just a different style. But Blake, he's his own man, and he does a lot of things that we like, and we think he should be able to hold that back line together.
Coach Keith Burns, good luck this week. We're looking forward to the season and looking forward to talking to you on the Bobcast.
All right, thanks a lot.
Back here on the 2019 Bobcast, Episode 1, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. We are here with Coach Brian Parker. Coach, my first question to you, how has the preseason gone?
We've had a great preseason. I think we have a real nice mix of returners and new players. The first-year players have really blossomed and are feeling very comfortable. It's a little odd. We had kind of a late start calendar-wise,
Mm-hmm.
so it kind of feels like it's been a long time. We've already had a full week of school. We'll have pretty much almost a second full week of school before we finally play a match, which definitely seems like it's been a little bit late. But we've made good progress. It feels pretty good.
What is the message to the team moving into Division Two and to the MEC?
Well, it's exciting, of course. I mean, part of it is just new schedule, new towns, new campuses, and I think we have sort of something to prove in terms of just defining our program and establishing our sort of ethos, or so to speak, a kind of our presence, or our reputation as a school, as a team. So I think there's some responsibility that goes with that. Kind of the first time you play someone, um, and I think it's an exciting change. We decided to defer on offering scholarships in women's soccer for another year. So we had already recruited our 19 class, and so we're competing without a scholarship player on the roster. So I think it's going to be a little extra sweet. I think if we get some results and surprise some people on some Division two teams. Obviously, the prohibition kind of takes the pressure off of us in a way that we have this postseason kind of delay. So it's kind of like the pressure's off, and we're the new kids on the block, and we're just trying to establish our reputation and kind of show what kind of quality we have and what kind of good habits we have as a team. And I think that's exciting.
Just talked to Coach Becky Fletcher, and I'll ask you the same question. Anybody in the MEC you're excited about playing in particular? And to kind of piggyback on that, are you looking forward to the opportunities for maybe new rivalries or anything like that?
So sure, West Virginia Wesleyan won the title last year. They won the automatic bid and then went to the NCAA regionals and beat two PSAC teams to get to the Sweet 16. So that's the standard. So
Yeah.
that's obviously they're the bar. They were the top-ranked team in the preseason poll, and so I think everybody realizes that's the standard, really. Certainly in terms of conference championships and postseason eligibility. So that's the exciting sort of game on the calendar that we go down there to play on a weeknight, and we only play them once in the way that the setup is. So I'm excited about them. I mean, Charleston in the South has been good. I think locally, Fairmont is a school that intrigues us because we've scrimmaged them a couple years ago. I know the coach personally, so they're close and a similar school to ours. So we'll do some kind of creative schedule things with them, and we both kind of think alike and want to do some some interesting things. So I think that it's going to be fun to kind of. I mean, I'm sure we'll be a rivalry, but also kind of a. We're going to cooperate on a lot of things. I think that similar schools would probably like from the conference. I know the guy down at Davison Elkins real well. They're new to the conference also, and he's a former Frostburg guy who was our men's assistant. So Declan, he's going to be fun, I think, and he'll get things ramped up there pretty quickly. So there's some local teams that interest us for sure, but obviously we have not been to these Ohio schools and been to these schools in the southern part of the state. So, a lot of it's going to be new.
Coach, you mentioned the preseason polls and the MEC Mountain East runs through divisions for women's soccer and a handful of other sports. Is there moving from conference titles? Is there any kind of emphasis on winning the division, or is it mainly just you're looking at winning the conference rather than winning at your individual division? Is that even a stepping stone or thought in the whole grand scheme of things?
Oh, of course. So the way the format is set up is the top three teams in each division qualify for the postseason. So if you get that top seed in your half, you get to bye, you get to host the semifinal. So certainly getting the third spot and getting in the tournament is the first objective. Getting the second spot and hosting that quarterfinal is the next goal. And then, of course, if you could get the one seed, get the bye and host the semifinal, then I think you're in the preferred position. The way the format is in soccer is that, at least women's soccer, that the tournament occurs in 1 week and there's 3 games. So it's a Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. So we're playing the Saturday night before. So we'll play 4 games potentially in 8 days, 6 days, 7 days if we were to play that round of the quarterfinal game. So that's a tough call. That's a tough ask. That format is rigorous. And so, getting the bye would be awesome. Hosting that Tuesday game would be awesome. Obviously getting in is our initial objective, but it kind of almost doesn't matter what's happening on the other side. It's just the results you get compared to the other teams, of course, in your half are what really matters.
Switching gears here, who are you looking at to lead this team this season?
Well, we've got 3 great senior captains, and they're all terrific players and terrific examples for the other players. Obviously, Brooke Shahady is a striker who is really exceptional. She tested out as our top overall fittest, fastest player in preseason, which was
that's scary.
It was great to see. She's got a motor. She'll surprise some people for sure. She's already scored 4 goals twice in each game in our preseason. So she's going to be terrific. Gwen and Jess Dunnigan, our center mids, are both creative soccer players who can do a lot with the ball. Have just great soccer IQ and real good engines in there. Jess obviously is the more versatile of the two. Gwen she could do a lot as well and has a lot of sort of outside the box thinking, sort of creative skill set that's fun to watch. But Jess is really versatile. She can be a shutdown defender when we need that. She could provide pace up front when we need that. Letting her play as kind of a free, wheeling center mid is I think what we'll likely do with her a lot. And the three of those girls will be great. We have Riley Learn in the back, who's an experienced, kind of strong, sturdy defender who's going to be terrific. And Emily Faust is kind of making her comeback after a year off as a senior goalkeeper, and she's got just a love of the game that really is kind of infectious. And in her own way, she's a role model as well, because she's obviously really made a serious kind of personal investment. Coming back for that fifth year is not common, in our sport
Yeah.
and at our school. So the fact that she did change her major, there was an academic reason, but she got a kind of a reprieve and has a chance to play a fifth year, and she'll be fun.
Who's impressed you early in the preseason?
Well, outside of those players, we have some returning defenders who are mixed in. We've got like two terrific back lines right now, two very good defensive lines. Erica Hill returned from injury and has been a strong center back, and then obviously Abby Dennis and Mackenzie Fulch played a ton of minutes as center backs last year. So
Right.
we've got a real kind of platoon, system almost that we may consider going to, so kind of subbing a little bit more in the back than we usually have. The center mid depth is good after those two seniors with Corey Striano returning and Helen Francis is a terrific crafty player who's also fun to watch. And then up front, we've got some new players that have come in. Emily Lehman has been great up front, but then Anna Moyer, first year player, and Marley Copes have both really kind of proven that they're going to fight their way into the lineup and could get a lot of minutes and be important players. Marley scored in each of the scrimmages as well, and this has a bit of composure and kind of thoughtfulness that you don't always see in first year college players that I think is going to be fun.
You mentioned a couple of the new faces. Anybody else has stuck out to you here?
Well, the freshman keeper Taylor Longworth had a great preseason.
Yeah.
She really spent a full year of her high school senior year just getting physically ready and preparing and training, and she tested really well in preseason. Just really just committed herself to just be ready for college soccer, and she's going to play. She's going to play. She may get some starts. She's going to get some halves. She's going to get an opportunity to play. She was outstanding Friday night at Cal U and made a couple of really good saves. And so she's, exceeded expectation and has been, in terms of surprise based on like our recruiting, evaluation of players, maybe she's right there at the top of the chart.
What can you tell me about the scrimmages that you've had? I know you've played you played Hood earlier last week, and then you played Cal U.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you see in those?
So, we owed Hood a game from last year. Great, great facility. But they've got new turf down there in Frederick, and that's in our recruiting pipeline there. And know the coach there personally wanted to return that game. Spirited team. He's working hard to kind of rebuild things there, and he's done well. They have athletes, and they certainly made us work. Brooke presented some matchup problems for them that we were able to expose a little bit right away, but they're tracking in a great direction, and I think it was a good start for us. And then Cal U, another situation with a new coach, really rebuilding a program almost from scratch, really in terms of the depth on the roster there, and they had some real big, strong, sturdy kids, and they were much more of a physical challenge and really kind of came after us a little bit. And the spine of their team up the center was very good. So I think that was, the perfect progression for us to play a big, strong, Division II team that, has athletes and is going to really force us to work. And that game could have gone either way. I think it was a 3-1 result for us, but of course we were happy with the goals. But yeah, that was a great game and the kind of opponent we're going to be playing a lot on the regular season.
This week you take on Shepherd on the road and host Shippensburg. What are you excited about in those matchups?
Well, it's the debut of the D2 era, right?
Right.
It's pretty exciting. I think we'll have a little bit of nerves on hand, that we'll have to talk about and kind of reconcile. We're familiar with both these teams, frankly. We scrimmaged Shepherd probably maybe three or four times in the last 5 years and had pretty good results. Obviously, a great soccer only facility down there, a day game, at their place, a little bit of travel. There's some logistical concerns you just have to reconcile, but everybody deals with those. I think it'll be fun. Hopefully not a 100-degree day on Thursday. The weather's tracking pretty good, so we'll see. And then, we're really familiar with Shippensburg. We've played Ship in a spring scrimmage probably 7 years in a row and been super even with them. 1-goal games, draws. Another real good spirited physical team that'll be a challenge for us. Playing the 1 day layover, having the sort of 1 day break is a little uncommon for us. We're going to have a few of those this year where we play with a little less rest than we're used to. So we're going to have to make some adjustments and, deal with that. I think having a little more depth on the roster is going to be very useful to us, certainly. And we're going to be sort of game planning 2 games and in 1 week, kind of as
Yeah.
do we rest players? Do we start players? The health of the players is going to be very important. So that will start this week, and we'll make some judgments about the health and well-being of the players as well as how competitive, what their form is like, so to speak, and we'll start that process this week. But it's exciting, and they're both winnable games, to be honest with you. I mean, I think they could go either way. We don't know much about them. Everyone's got a dozen freshmen,
Yep.
and they could play a ton of those players. So without much scouting, we'll kind of go and see what we're made of.
You mentioned it when answering that question, but you're anticipating some butterflies, some nerves, maybe a little adrenaline early in those games.
Well, I mean, I have it. I'm sure the kids have it.
Yeah.
I think every time you take the field, there's a little bit of anxiety that kind of should be there. I mean, if you're not nervous, honestly, I tell players all the time, what's wrong with you? I mean, you only get 20 chances, 18 regular season games, 2 scrimmages. That's it. And we do play a couple teams twice, but typically you don't get that rematch, and maybe you get a playoff game against some of these teams, but basically it's an opportunity. We're only as good as we are today, on that day. So, we'll find out how good we are on Thursday, and I think the players, every player has to have that balance between the excitement and nervousness and a little bit of anxiety that kind of gives you some fuel, I think for your performance, but also realizing that it's just the field is flat and the ball is round, and it's just kind of the same game they've always played. But I think there's everyone's kind of in the middle there somewhere where you want that nervous energy to be useful to you. I always say you want the nerves, you want to control the nerves. You don't want the nerves to control you. And
Right.
and as players mature and play more important games, I think they learn to manage that. And obviously that will start on Thursday, and I'm sure we'll learn some things about the players
That's right.
in that regard in our first time out in the new uniforms, to play a Division II game. So it's a lot to be excited about.
Coach Brian Parker, I know I'm excited about seeing the team this upcoming season and chatting with you here on the Bobcast. Thank you so much for joining with
Thanks
us.
for your time.
Welcome into the Bobcast, the 2019 episode number 1. Fielder Dennis alongside Coach Elaine Fitzgerald, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. Coach, let me just ask you how the offseason went and the preseason went before tomorrow's game against West Virginia State.
First off, you need to tell everybody at home the truth now, okay? This is not our first Bobcast. This is number 2.
The Lost Bobcast, the Lost Cast.
Fielder and I sat for 15 minutes and talked last week, and he grilled me with questions, and then we never sent the final product out.
No.
15 minutes of our lives that we're never ever going to get back.
But we enjoyed each other's company, so that's worth it.
I would rather be doing football. I like you, Fielder, but I'd rather be doing football right now. Go ahead. What's your question again?
How's the preseason been thus far?
Preseason has been great. The young men are fun to be around, fun to work with. They've worked hard for the next 3 weeks, and frankly, it's time to hit somebody, and it's time to line up and be physical with somebody from a different academic institution.
Coach, you've heard this question a lot in this off season, and I'm going to ask you. I've already asked you it before, as we said in the Lost Bobcast, but I'll ask you it again. How's the team handling the adjustment or the quote-unquote leap that you've mentioned before?
Fielder, football is football is football is football. The good teams in Division III and Division II and Division I and in the NFL, they all line up and practice and play the exact same way. There may be a tad difference in the skill level from one division to the other, but they line up. Good teams line up and practice the same way as good teams at any other level, and that's what we've done here. So as far as the adjustment, and I have issues with the word jump or leap or any of that nonsense. There's no adjustment. When we played good football the last 3 or 4 years, we won the football games we played in. If we play good football this fall, we're going to win the games we play in. Point blank, end of discussion.
What about the MEC and Division II are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I'm selfish. This answer is selfish for me, but What am I looking forward to in the MEC? I love West Virginia, love the state of West Virginia, so I'm looking forward to the trips and being on the bus and getting to see the scenery and the mountainsides. That's what I'm looking forward to. For our players, every young man that plays athletics dreams of playing scholarship athletics. So I'm happy for our kids. Everybody in our program this year is going to get to find out exactly where they stack up on the NCAA scholarship level.
Any teams in particular in the MEC, any rivalries you think that could be born here? There are two FSUs. I don't know if that has any factor with Fairmont State so close.
There are two FSUs. What's the other one?
Fairmont State.
Oh, you're counting us.
Yes, us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fielder, there are about 900 FSUs in the country. Florida State and Fitchburg State and
Fresno.
Hey, Fresno State and soon to be Fitzgerald State. And I'm trying to be funny here, and I'm not doing a good job. But no, I could care less. So I'm sure in a month or two there'll be several coaches in the conference that I don't like. But right now I think they're all great guys. So I have no rivalry. Our players have no rivalry either. Again, let's be really good in practice during the weekend and line up and play every Thursday night or Saturday afternoon, whichever it is.
You know a lot of these coaches in the conference. How having that familiarity plays into it. Are you excited to play some guys that you are familiar with and you know?
Yeah, well, the one I'm most familiar with is Mike Kellard. Mike and I go way back, and when he was the head coach at Concord and I was the head coach at Southern Virginia, we used to play, which was a real fair game because Concord was running around with 30 scholarships and Southern Virginia didn't have any. But Mike and I go back 10 or 15 years, and I think he is a really good football coach and an even better person. And then the fact that I was on the staff at Glenville State in 2000, that helps me with some familiarity with that university and with the conference. But I like all the coaches in the conference, and I think it's a really good football conference now, and it's gotten a lot better over the last 18 years since the last time I was there. But my familiarity with the head coach is probably isn't as good as people think it is.
Who are you looking at on your team to be leaders this season?
The entire senior class, all 12 seniors need to be leaders. And then junior and senior class, we've got 41. There's 41 of them total. The juniors and seniors need to step up and lead this football program. Fielder, just like every other football program right now, sitting the first week in September, we're going to go as the juniors and seniors go. If our juniors and seniors play well and take a leadership role on and off the field, and not only from a vocal standpoint, but from a work ethic standpoint, we'll do just fine.
You mentioned the seniors. You've got 9 starting returners on the defensive side of the ball. What does that experience bring to the table? Those guys have been through a lot of games. They've played a lot of different opponents. Do you think that's going to factor in?
Yeah, we returned 20-some players on defense with a lot of playing time. And we can go through the names, but Trevor Booker and Navarre Solis and Zach Strand and Carl Igwe and Luke Freeman all have experience at the defensive end position, and that they help us a bunch at defensive tackle. Walter Riley and John Millstreet, Jake Beiser, and then the freshmen Robert Horsey, Leonard Scott, and Eric Hagerman are all going to give us something up front there at the linebacker position, which is our deepest and most talented position on the field. Now they got to go out this fall and show it, but Matt Meyer and Wayne Palmer and Jake Brochard, Monty Jones, Hans White, Jeremiah Ingram, Mike Morgan, they have all played a bunch of football here, and we expect them to play really well this fall. And then those 4 DBs that returned, Vinny Persichetti, Avery Thurman, Mike Bell, Xavier Campbell, and then Stacy Watts have all played a bunch of football. And then you add the transfer in there, Drew Ashley. We are deep, and we're deep at each position on our defense, and then we expect to play really well there.
You mentioned the transfer. What are some of the new faces in the program who've really jumped out to you in the preseason and early on?
Yeah, Drew Ashley's done a nice job transferring in as a grad transfer and going to give us depth at DB and going to make some plays for us this fall at DB and on special teams. Will Brunson at the quarterback position has done exactly what we brought him in here to do, which is bridge the gap. While we're making the transition, as you call it, and Will's done a nice job, going to have a good fall for us at the quarterback position. And then you turn around and then, well, that would be about it for the transfers that have come in. Brady Watson has done a really nice job, and I left him out. Brady Watson's done a nice job at tailback, and he's going to give us some depth there and going to play for us at tailback.
Coach, what did you like from the inter-squad scrimmage from a week ago?
I like the effort that the young men were playing with. We played really, really hard. There was a lot of energy and enthusiasm, so you like that. Um, we got to play 108 plays, which is really, really good and more than we usually get in a scrimmage. Came out of it healthy, and our young men are energized and ready to play this week.
Looking at this week, it's first game of the season, West Virginia State. You jump right into conference play. What's the mindset going into that matchup?
Yeah, the mindset's if we play well, we're going to be okay at the end of it. This may be the best, maybe the best team in West Virginia State history. Maybe their best football team, and their coaching staff's now in their third year there, and they've done a nice job of building something. And I said something last week about most of their players are returning from last year, and I was corrected. And somebody said most of their players are still returning from 3 years ago.
Wow.
So they've got 17 or 18 kids that started as sophomores and then started again as juniors. Now they're starting as seniors. So it's a way you build a program. And John Pennington and his staff have done a nice job down there, and I expect them to be good on Thursday night. We just need to play better.
I've asked this to some of the other coaches here on the Bobcast about, I guess, expectations, if you will, and what are for your team specifically. What are the guys? What are they thinking of moving into this new division, this new conference? Are they trying to make a statement here early in the season?
You keep asking me what our players are thinking, okay?
Mhm.
Fielder, I want you to go back to your office after this interview and sit and tell me what every 18 to 22-year-old on this staff is on this campus is thinking today, okay? Because trying to get into the mind of an 18 to 22-year-old male, absolutely impossible. Our players love football. That they like hard work and they like discipline and they like football. I know they're looking forward to Thursday night. I know they're looking forward to playing football. Outside of that, I couldn't tell you what's on their mind. I expect the exact same thing from our football program that we've gotten the last 4 years, which is that our guys will be really, really well prepared this week, and we're going to tee it up on Thursday night. And for 3 hours of our life on Thursday night, we're going to give it everything we have and try to play as well as we can possibly play and let the cards fall where they may.
Coach, do you think nerves are going to be a factor for the players and coaches?
Yeah,
On Thursday?
nerves are a factor in any game. Young men are nervous. You do know that part. But the thing I learned a long time as a player about nerves is it makes you move a little bit faster.
Yeah, that adrenaline rush really.
Yeah.
Coach, my final question to you. You've mentioned it a couple of times here, but what do you guys got to do to pull out a win tomorrow?
We've got to score more points than West Virginia State.
Plain and simple.
What do we have to do? We have to be good. We have to be good on offense, and we have to take care of the football. Fielder, there's never been a touchdown scored or a field goal kicked without that little brown ball. Okay, it's the most important thing in the game. So we've got to protect the football on offense and then turn around on defense. We've got to take the football away. And that's the exact same thing that West Virginia State's telling their kids too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way it has to go. We've got to take care of the football on offense. We've got to run the football. We've got to move forward. We can't have foolish penalties. Turn around on defense, and we have to stop their run game. And I like the running back that they have, and we recruited him here 2 years ago really, really hard, but Carl Garman's a good player for them, and we've got to – you're not going to shut him down, but we've got to contain him in the run game and make them throw the football over the top to beat us. Those things have to happen defensively. The average special teams play in college football is 6 seconds. We've got to win those 6 seconds. We've got to play really, really hard on special teams and make plays there. And then Fielder, we've practiced for the last 3 weeks, and we've gotten better almost every day for the last 3 weeks. Well, so has West Virginia State, okay? We're going to make plays on Thursday night. West Virginia is going to make plays on Thursday night. The team that tees it up and plays the next play, play the play you're on, learn from it, and then forget it and play as hard as you can possibly play on the next play. The team that does that the best on Thursday night is going to be successful.
Coach, thanks for joining us. Really looking forward to tomorrow's game. Should be really exciting here at Bobcat Stadium, and looking forward to this season talking to you on the Bobcast.
Fielder, thank you for having me. Go Bobcats.
Back here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. Fielder Dennis with Coach Caitlin Thompson. Coach, we are talking field hockey here, and my first question to you, how has the preseason gone thus far?
Our preseason has gone really well. I think that our mental toughness has definitely increased since last year, and we've really elevated our speed of play and just our level of play overall and our energy level to go along with that. So those were really big things that we wanted to add this year, and I think that we've done a great job doing that so far.
What goes into strengthening mental fortitude?
Just making sure that we are, keeping our energy level up, our positivity up, especially when we're tired. Those things start to go down as the more tired you get. So just making sure, again, that positivity, making sure we're sticking together as a team as our, cardiovascular stuff goes down a little bit, which I think that our girls have done a really great job of doing this season.
What excites you about the move to Division Two and being independent and going to so many different places?
Yeah, our girls are really excited about the move to D2. It kind of gives us a fresh start. We're from the CAC, which
Hmm.
is one of the most powerful D3 field hockey conferences. So we're very grateful to have, had that experience. And I think that experience is really going to help us with the transition to D2 because we know we can play against tough field hockey teams. We've seen them before, so it's nothing new to us. Our girls are really excited to kind of travel to new places as well. They love, staying the night together in the hotels and all of that. So they're really excited to get our road games going.
Speaking about the CAC in preparation, I think field hockey and lacrosses are the
Hmm.
big ones that are going to be so prepared because you're playing teams like Salisbury and you're playing CNUs, and those are really, really good field hockey teams. So I think you're exactly right. You're going to be so prepared when you move to Division Two independent because you've seen some of the best field hockey, especially in the area.
Yeah.
So you'll be way prepared. You think that just from a confidence standpoint, the team's got to be, over the moon for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, like I said, the girls are really prepared for the tough competition. I think another thing that's kind of, eased their mind a little bit is for our spring competition. In the past spring, we went up against, some of the top D2 teams. So we went up against East Stroudsburg, who was the national runner up. We went against Millersville, who was, I think, like sixth in the nation. And then we also went up against Kutztown, who was number 9 in the nation. So our girls got to see some of the best
Yeah.
D2 this spring, so they know what they're getting into. And, we held our own in the spring, and that was without our freshmen coming in. So I think the girls are just really excited to get going in D2.
We've talked about leadership you've talked about how the team is growing. You're excited for this upcoming season. You return an All CAC player in Gabby Rahuba and goalie Sierra Smizer to fortify the defense. What role do you think they'll play in the upcoming season?
Yes, Miser's just a huge vocal leader for us on and off the field. She was a unanimous captain selection this season. So I think that just speaks volumes to her and who she is as a leader on our team. She worked extremely hard this summer and did a fantastic job of getting in shape and being prepared for her senior year. So I think that we can expect great things from her this season. With in terms of Gabby, she just brings such a competitive mindset to our program, whether it's like the smallest drill or in a big time game. She just never wants to lose. She
Hmm.
always is going out to win. So just that competitive drive that she has is really contagious to the other girls on our team.
Coach, we've had a previous conversation that was recorded, but it's called the Lost Podcast.
Yeah.
And if I recall, on the Lost Podcast, you mentioned you have a new motto or mantra the team does, and it's level up, correct? Can you elaborate on
Yes.
that?
Yeah. So, yeah, our team motto for this year is level up, and that just has to do with obviously our transition from Division 3 to Division 2, but it's also something that we can say, when we're doing bad, when maybe we're not playing to our best standards, we know we need to level up and play a little bit better, or maybe we're playing really well and we score a goal that's really great. We've just leveled up in terms of like, playing video games. So
Correct.
that's our mantra for this year. The girls have really embraced it so far in the past couple weeks that we've been on campus.
Plenty of new faces on the team. Which of these new faces have impressed you in preseason?
I think Taylor Henderson has done a really great job of proving that she can be a goal scoring good goal scorer for us this year. She has great ball control skills, and she has a nice first touch on the ball that allows her to really get her stick open to get a nice shot off. And then Emily Hughes, she also is just a great defender. They're actually from the same high school in Harrisburg,
Chemistry.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Um, she's done a great job of just being a nice, solid defender and someone that we can kind of rely on the backfield. She has great steps to ball, so I think that we'll be seeing good things from the two of them this season.
You mentioned level up, and you've mentioned mental fortitude. What else? What other points of emphasis are being established in this season?
Just making sure that we're always working hard, and I know that kind of has to do with the mental fortitude, but I think that as long as we're going out there, we're working hard and we're having fun. Those are two recipes for success. If you don't enjoy going out to practice every single day, you're probably not going to work hard in practice every single day. So we just really put an emphasis on enjoying our time together as a team. We only have a few months to be together as a team. I think we're probably the shortest season in the fall. So we only have a few months to be this team who we are. So we just want to make sure that we're going out there every day, having fun. And again, having fun will lead us to success.
Coach, looking at the matchups for this week, we'll look at it one at a time. St. Thomas Aquinas here at home. What are you looking forward to in that matchup?
I think this will be a pretty good matchup for us. I think that, we have a strong this is definitely a game that we can get our first win in of the season, which obviously is exciting. Um, they have some holes that we can take advantage of, but they're also a tough team. They're really scrappy forwards, so we're looking to hopefully get a win under our belt with our first home game to open up all of Frostburg sports this fall.
Later, you take on Indiana out of Pennsylvania. What are you hoping to see when you play them?
Same thing. They're also a pretty good and competitive team. They're from the PSAC, who is one of, they are probably the best Division II conference. So we're excited to see how we stack up against, the PSAC teams. And I think that IUP is going to be a great first test of us against those PSAC teams.
Coach, I'm looking forward to those matchups this week. Thank you for joining us in the Bobcast, and we're looking forward to talking to you all season long.
Thanks.
Back here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis with Coach Shane Brookshire. And, Coach, my first question to you, how has Frostburg treated you thus far?
Oh, it's been great. I love the small town atmosphere, small school. The weather's been a lot better than what I'm used to out in Oklahoma and California.
Temperature-wise, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been great training weather the whole time that I've been here.
Coach, now this being your first Bobcast, and we'd like to welcome you to this because we'll be chatting with you basically year round, so the people will know all about how the seasons are going, and we'll talk about this cross country preseason. How has that gone thus far?
Oh, we've looked really strong on the men's side. We've got several good returners. Got some newcomers out there that have put in a lot of work over the summer. I think we're going to have a strong showing just based off of the workouts that they've completed thus far. I've kind of put them through the ringer a little bit, and now it's time to back off and get ready for the competitions to start.
Coach, I noticed this, I think it was last week. I saw the team all down in the weight room. They're getting some instructions. That's not something I saw last season. And is that something you're wanting to incorporate here?
Yeah, strength training is a huge part of my program. I believe that all athletes, regardless of their event area in track and cross country, need to be doing strength and conditioning. And so we try to lift strong so we can run strong. And it helps prevent injuries, helps with their running economy, and just helps build a general overall fitness for them. And so I feel that the strength training will be a huge component into us being better and competing well in the Mountain East.
How can your time spent in your previous spot in Oklahoma impact the growth of both track and cross country, the program here at Frostburg State?
Well, in Oklahoma, I had built that program from the ground up, and essentially that's what I'm trying to do on the women's side here. And so with just having 6 years experience of that, 3 years of having a track and field program there, of starting from scratch, has definitely prepared me well for coming here to build the women's cross country track program up here. The in terms of just getting roster numbers in and trying to field a competitive team, and I was able to do that within a couple years out there. And I think that having much more resources here and like better scenery and less wind, like it will be a lot easier to get athletes to come to Frostburg.
Looking at cross country, and you mentioned some of the runners before, what have you learned about them as runners in your short time here?
Oh, we definitely got some very strong light runners. Like on the some of the athletes are more so geared towards like the 5K, 10K, and they've been able to put in lots of miles over the summer. Other athletes, like we've got, from what I can tell, a great depth in the 800 meter, like in the mid distance events for track, and so. This cross-country season is going to be a great time for them to build their strength, and that way we can focus mainly on speed come track season. But like we've got a solid mix of speed and strength on the team, and I'm excited to see what several of these athletes can do after the summer training that they've put in.
Are you a firm believer in using what you learned from cross-country and going through cross-country and using that in track, indoor and outdoor?
Yeah, what my coach in college always referred to it as was we would be molded from a cross-country runner into a track runner, and then from a track runner into a cross-country runner. So we're constantly trying to build off of one season into the next, and so it's important for athletes that run distance to do both, because they will develop their strength and endurance through cross-country, and allows us to focus more on developing their speed come track season.
Much like the Bobcast, you want your players to be working with you year-round, as we were discussing. You may have heard this name a couple of times in passing, talking about cross-country and track and field from Frostburg State a season ago. Robbie Romano was one of the better runners in the CAC last year. And my question to you is, how do you find someone to try and step into that role, that leadership, or, if you will, that person you're trying to catch up to for some of the runners?
Well, it's definitely a loss losing Robbie Romano. I've looked at his times and his performances over the last couple of years, and so it's a huge loss on that end. But I don't focus on rebuilding necessarily. I focus on reloading, and we have several athletes that have really stepped up. Braxton Clark Jr., who has put in the miles over summer, like getting close to 100 miles a week.
Wow.
The Devin Horseman guy, who is coming out for his first year in cross country, he's put in some good mileage over the summer as well, and he's looking strong in practices. And then we have some freshmen that have come in and have really stepped it up as well. And so I said, we lost Robbie, but we've also gained several athletes that will help fill that void and create a solid pack for us.
You mentioned the women's team, their numbers earlier. How do you maximize those runners for this upcoming season? How do you make the most out of their seasons with few numbers?
We kind of just accept it for what it is right now, and understand that their strengths lie in the track season, and so we gear the training more towards focusing on their track events. And so I try to build up their strength. Several of the ladies are 800-meter runners, and so I'm just focused on building up their endurance right now and not too worried about performances. We still want to run well, show that we want to be competitive, but my main focus for them is to get them prepared to run their fastest 800s during the track season.
What meets this season excites you from a competition standpoint?
I got to say the Lock Haven meet. That is the host of the D2 regional championships. They've hosted D2 regionals numerous times, over the last couple decades. And so it's a very well-respected course. It's a fast course from what I've heard. And so it should be a huge meet, with it being the D2 preview this year. I'm expecting us to run fast times there, as well as at the Paul Short Run at Lehigh University. That's one of the biggest meets on the East Coast, and D1s, D2s, D3s, everybody goes there. And so as long as we can get into that meet, then we should run fast times there, and I think that's where they should see their biggest PRs of the season.
What do you want to see looking at this week in the Bethany Bison Invitational in Bethany, West Virginia?
I want to see my athletes put themselves out there. Like, they've had a couple very strong weeks of practices, like tough workouts, and they just need to go out there and run their race, test their fitness level out, like see what they can do, like, and we can make adjustments for the following races. But the best way to open up the season with your first 8K or 6K is to just kind of test your own fitness level out, see what you can do, and sometimes big things happen when you just throw it out there. And so we're not really too focused on race strategy right now. Like, it would be good to have a pack, but I just want them to get out there and run what they can, and so that we can build off of that for the next one.
Make it like a start, I guess, or a time mile marker, if you will. Just kind of a base, a floor. Coach Shane Brookshire, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to chatting with you all season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.